I Will Teach You to Be Rich stands out among personal finance books because it rejects both fear-based austerity and vague motivational talk. Ramit Sethi's central claim is simple but disruptive. Most people do not fail with money because they lack discipline or intelligence, but because they focus on the wrong things. They obsess over small expenses, delay action, and treat money as a source of anxiety rather than a system to be designed. The book's promise of a 6-week plan is not about speed, but about momentum, replacing hesitation with structured action that compounds over time. The first major idea is automation over willpower. Sethi argues that relying on self-control is fragile. Motivation fades, discipline breaks, and life gets busy. Instead of trying to make perfect decisions every month, he teaches readers to automate the most important financial behaviors: saving, investing, paying bills, and paying off debt. Once these actions are automated, good behavior happens in the background. This is a profound shift. Wealth is no longer dependent on constant effort, but on systems that run even when attention is elsewhere. Another foundational principle is focusing on big wins instead of small optimizations. Traditional advice often tells people to cut coffee clip coupons or obsess over tiny expenses. Sethi calls this a distraction. The real drivers of financial outcomes are big decisions: negotiating salary, choosing the right bank and credit cards, investing early and consistently, and controlling housing and transportation costs. By directing energy toward these leverage points, people can improve their finances dramatically without feeling deprived. This reframes money management as strategic rather than restrictive. The book also introduces the idea of conscious spending. Unlike extreme frugality, Sethi encourages people to spend extravagantly on what they love, as long as they cut ruthlessly on what they do not. The goal is not minimalism, but alignment. Money should support a rich life, not just a large account balance. This philosophy removes guilt from spending while preserving discipline. It acknowledges a truth many finance books ignore: people will abandon systems that feel joyless, even if they are optimal on paper. Sustainability matters more than perfection. Another core lesson is starting now imperfectly. Sethi repeatedly emphasizes that doing something today beats planning endlessly for the perfect moment. Opening accounts, setting up automation, and making small initial investments matter more than mastering every detail. This bias toward action is deliberate. Many people remain stuck because they feel not ready. The book dismantles that excuse by showing that readiness is built through action, not before it. Credit cards and debt are treated with nuance rather than fear. Sethi distinguishes between good systems and bad behavior. Credit cards are powerful tools when used responsibly and paid in full, offering rewards and protections. Debt is dangerous when unmanaged, but not all debt is equal. This pragmatic approach contrasts with advice that treats all credit as evil. The emphasis is always on systems that prevent mistakes automatically, rather than trusting constant vigilance, because the real test of Ramit Sethi's system begins after the excitement of setup fades and real life reasserts itself. Automation is easy to admire in theory. Living with it, through changing income temptation, boredom, and life transitions, is where most systems quietly fail. Part 2 is about durability, what holds what breaks, and how Sethi's framework must evolve if it is to support long-term financial freedom rather than just short-term relief. One of the most important insights that emerges over time is that automation reduces friction, but it does not eliminate responsibility. Automated investing and saving work brilliantly when income is stable and expenses are predictable. But life is not static. Job changes, family growth, health issues, and shifting priorities all require periodic recalibration. Sethi's real lesson is not set it and forget it forever, but set it so forgetting doesn't destroy you. The wealthy users of his system return occasionally to adjust percentages, renegotiate costs, and realign spending with values. Automation handles execution. Humans still handle direction. Another long-term challenge is lifestyle inflation, which automation alone cannot prevent. As income grows, automated savings may increase in absolute terms, but shrink in relative discipline. Without conscious review, spending expands to fill emotional and social space. Sethi acknowledges this by emphasizing conscious spending, but the discipline becomes harder as numbers get larger. The deeper application of his philosophy is learning to say no to upgrades that add little joy while saying yes deliberately to experiences that matter. The system works best when paired with ongoing self-awareness, not passive consumption. Critics of "I Will Teach You to Be Rich" often argue that it underemphasizes frugality or long-term investing complexity. This critique misses the book's intent. Sethi does not claim his system is optimal in every scenario. He claims it is implementable by normal people. The genius of the approach is not mathematical optimization, but behavioral realism. A slightly suboptimal plan followed for decades beats a perfect plan abandoned after 6 months. His framework prioritizes consistency over sophistication, which is why it resonates with people who previously felt overwhelmed by finance. As wealth grows, Sethi's principles require graduation, not abandonment. The same mindset that automates index investing can later be applied to more complex decisions: asset allocation, changes, tax planning, entrepreneurship, or real estate. The key is that systems expand in layers. Early automation builds trust. That trust creates capacity. Capacity allows complexity to be added responsibly. Those who try to jump straight to advanced strategies without foundational systems often sabotage themselves emotionally. Another subtle but powerful lesson is how Sethi reframes guilt around money. Traditional advice often moralizes spending and saving, creating shame cycles that lead to rebellion. Sethi removes morality from money mechanics. There is no virtue in deprivation for its own sake. There is no sin in spending on things you love. The only failure is unconsciousness. This emotional neutrality is what allows people to stay engaged with their finances instead of avoiding them. Over decades, engagement matters more than austerity. Perhaps the most valuable long-term takeaway is Sethi's insistence on defining a rich life personally. Financial freedom is not a universal finish line. For some, it means early retirement. For others, it means flexibility, security, generosity, or creative work. Sethi's system supports this by decoupling money from social comparison. The system exists to serve your life, not to impress others. This alignment prevents the common trap of building wealth while remaining dissatisfied. When viewed holistically, "I Will Teach You to Be Rich" is not a 6-week plan to wealth, but a 6-week plan to stop sabotaging yourself. It replaces fear with structure, indecision with action, and guilt with clarity. Its real value lies in making good financial behavior easier than bad behavior, and sustainable behavior more attractive than extreme behavior. And this is where the story ultimately lands. Financial freedom does not come from intensity. It comes from systems that work when motivation disappears. Ramit Sethi's contribution is not teaching people how to be rich quickly, but how to build a financial life that does not require constant vigilance, sacrifice, or stress to function. When money runs quietly in the background, attention is freed for work relationships and experiences that actually define a rich life. That quiet reliability, not flashy optimization, is what turns short-term progress into long-term freedom. If this breakdown helped you see money as a system to design rather than a problem to fight, consider subscribing for more deep dives into timeless financial ideas, and leave a comment sharing which part of your financial life you would most like to automate next.